I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're delving into a remarkable book. It is called Life's Ups and Downs by Sara-Fay Tarlin. This poignant memoir chronicles the profound journey of a mother and her adopted daughter through love, pain, and resilience. Join us as we explore this heart-wrenching narrative of navigating life's unpredictable trials and the enduring bond between mother and child. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Sara-Fay, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to share your story in this wonderful book, Life's Ups and Downs.
Well, the reason that I shared the story is that my daughter was murdered. She was murdered on July 17th, 2017. And when I knew she was murdered, as soon as my son-in-law called me and told me she was dead, but I was not allowed to come to the house. I wasn't allowed. I was told not to. And the police did not view it as a crime. They felt it was very natural. It was a natural death, which I knew was ridiculous. And it took me, well, my son-in-law and my daughter were married, but I bought her a home when I thought they were divorced. And I paid for it, and I did not put it in anyone's name but mine. But the police decided that since she was married, he had every right to be there. He didn't. She had a lock box on her door. And sometimes she let him in, and sometimes she didn't. She was a drama queen, but she was the absolute antithesis of an abused woman. He abused her. He was in jail more than half of their married life. He had been in jail for 2 months. I did not know this. And he, on Friday, before the Friday of that weekend, she told me she had just started a new job, which she had to be drug tested. She worked 4 days, and then the 5th day, she had to be in court. She told me that she didn't tell me why. She told me that it was he who was involved with something else, but it wasn't true. She took her spousal privilege and refused to testify. So he was let go. The next day, he beat the hell out of her. And she was in such pain that she couldn't go to work the whole next week. I did not know any of this at the time. But on that Saturday, he beat her up. And the following Sunday, she was still hadn't been to work. She was in agony. So she sent him to get her some painkiller. She would not take oxycodone because she had been on it before and she didn't like it. So she was taking other things like Tylenol. Anyways, she spoke to her girlfriend and she told her that he had gone out to get her some pain medicine. And she called her girlfriend at 9:30. The girlfriend never heard from her. The next day, according to him, they had had a wonderful dinner together on Sunday night, and everything was wonderful. And she brought dessert to his camper, which was parked in her driveway. And the next morning, when he got up to go to work, her car was blocking his truck. So he went and took his motorcycle to work. Now, this is something that never happened, because if she blocked him, he would stand out in the driveway and call her all kinds of names and tell her to get her some down there and move her car. Well, that did not happen. So he went to work and he told the police that he called her and she never answered. So when he came home, he couldn't get in because the lockbox was there. But he went all the way around the back, broke a window in the bedroom and climbed in and found her under the dining room table. His story is that she was taking fentanyl. Well, he said fentanyl, and that she fell and banged her head on the table. However, there was no blood on the table. She was found under the table with her head rested up against one of the legs. He ran out in the street screaming, and somebody stopped and called the police. And then he went next door to her neighbor and started screaming that she had killed my daughter. And she went back to the house and asked him to please help her get her out from under the table so she could perform CPR. And he said, no, it's too late. She's dead. And he walked out of the house. Now, when the police came, they accepted whatever he said. They told me he sounded very, he was very calm, and he told them this whole story, and they did not let anybody else come. There was an airplane flying overhead, I heard, but they never reported it. It was never on the news that night or anything. Now, she died alone. They usually take your cell phone in that case. They did not. They didn't. And on her cell phone, she had pictures of herself being as an abused woman, and she had threatening messages from him. It took my niece and I 3 trips to court to get him out of my house. Finally, we had a sympathetic judge who said, this sounds like there might be more to it. And I said, yeah, there was. Well, he found him a trespasser. And he gave him 6 weeks to get out and told him he could take only his things, nothing else, and that he should leave the house in immaculate condition. Well, the day after he left, I had to get a locksmith to come and change the locks so that I could get in. And my niece and I almost died. He took everything. He took even the batteries to the smoke detector. He took the washer and the dryer and all the furniture, all the television sets, all the remotes. I mean, he took just everything. We called the police, and they sent a policeman down, and he said, well, he was married to her, he's entitled. He refused to look at the court order. So everybody advised me just to forget it, because in order to prove him guilty, I would have to get a civil attorney and a forensic physiologist. And I didn't have that kind of money. Okay. So I've been living like this for 7 years. In 2019, I started to write a book, but then I stopped. And about a year ago, last May, I started again, and I finished it. And I got in touch with some people that were publishers, and they have published the book for me, and it is now on sale on Kindle. And I think at Barnes and Nobles also.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I wrote the book was, number one, to just let people know what goes on there, and to find maybe somebody who would sympathize and give me some clue as to how to progress, so that I could do this.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. You lose your daughter, the circumstances are awful. She was in an abusive relationship. You expect justice from the police, the prosecutors, the court system. And often, as is the case, it's like yours, there is no justice. They refuse to investigate, or refuse to investigate it thoroughly. And like you said, a lot of things appear to have been missed, such as going through her cell phone and seeing, were there bad text messages? Were there text messages that were threatening? Are there photos documenting the abuse at his hands? And the story, she fell, is such a hard to accept one.
Well, we saw her in her coffin.
Yeah.
We went to the funeral home. She had a daughter who was with me. They put her head like this on her neck, on the chin of her neck, so that we couldn't see the strangle marks on her neck. But we saw cuts all over her face, a big black eye. There's a cut on her chin. She died of this. That's what she died of.
Right.
But when they got the coroner's report, the first report said no drugs in her body. Then I called the funeral home. I needed another copy of the death certificate. And he said they just got another copy of the autopsy saying she died of natural causes. She had oxycodone and 0.04 whatever of fentanyl. I said,
Mm.
is that enough to kill somebody? And he said, that is 1,000 times more lethal than morphine.
Mm. Yeah, it's a very, very dangerous drug. Gosh. So this man is free now and has never been brought to justice, has never been prosecuted. They basically left it up to you to try to sue him civilly, which costs money, like you said, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
heartbreaking. Very, very heartbreaking. How old was your daughter in 2017?
She was, what, 17? She was 52?
52 years old. How
Yeah.
long had you been with this man?
About, they were married in 2007. So it
So
was
about 10
10,
years.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
awful. And she had a child?
Yeah, not with him. She had had a child before. When
And
she
what
was,
became of that child when she died?
oh, well, I'm very close to her now. She's the only
Good.
tie I have to my daughter, and we are both close. She's an awesome, awesome girl. Yeah,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
yeah.
How old is she?
She's 36.
She's 36. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank God she's still in your life. And
Well, not only,
hopefully, by
yeah,
you
she's,
writing this book and by speaking here today, you'll get the word out there to a broader audience. You know, sometimes cold cases become hot again and people will start investigating because this certainly sounds like a cold case that needs to be investigated.
oh, yeah, absolutely. But we've been told just recently by a uh, detective who on that police department who was there that night that we should be very careful because he is very dangerous and he could come after me or my niece. And he knows where my niece lives. He
Awful.
could find out where I live very easily. Um, I don't live in the same place, but I've moved since then.
Yeah. Awful. Awful. And if the police are telling you you should be fearful, they should be investigating him more because if they feel he's a danger, that's based on the fact of what happened to your daughter.
He
So
was also arrested afterwards. We found this on the internet for assault and battery in a different town. But I don't know what happened. I don't know if he went to jail or not. I don't think so.
awful, awful. The name of the book we've been discussing today is Life's Ups and Downs. It's written by Sara-Fay Tarlin. Her beautiful daughter was killed, murdered, apparently, when she was just 52 years old in 2017. She had been in a troubled relationship, a relationship where she complained of abuse, domestic abuse. And Sarah Faye is very, very upset, as you heard today. She would like her killer brought to justice. And she's hoping that somebody watching this will open up this cold case and begin a proper investigation. Sara-Fay, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you again for having me.
I appreciate your time. God bless you. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.